Well, hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. Getting ready to record this week's Mike in the Midwest. So, how about we do it? Let's put that over here and let's get going. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 247 of Mike in the Midwest, our mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast, which you can find me on the socials at Be Our Guest Mike. And you can find the show anywhere you find podcasts. And if you wouldn't mind this week, if you have a few minutes, please do give a rating and a review to the show because those things do expire, in those 5-star reviews over on Apple Podcasts, especially, really do help us out. So if you're lounging around the pool, if you have better weather than we do here in the Midwest, just hit 5 stars and give us a few kind words that would help other folks find us. Because believe it or not, things do get stale after 18 years of podcasting. That would be awesome. So if you could do that, I'd really appreciate it. But anyway, I hope you're having a great week and weekend, and happy Memorial Day to everybody. We're recording this show on Sunday, May 25th, 2025. Hope this show finds you well. As always, thank you for being a patron of the show. Thank you for allowing us to keep the Be Our Guest podcast going. I hope I always, make sure I thank you enough for that. Your support means more than I can express here on the podcast. You guys are the best. And I love doing the podcast. I know Ricky, Pam, and Scott also echo that. We have the best time recording every week. And hope you always, get a couple of laughs out of the show. Maybe you get a nugget that helps you plan a better trip. Maybe find a snack here and there, a lounge, or maybe try a different entree at a restaurant. We know nothing is life shattering that we do on the show, but hopefully maybe it's a distraction as you walk the dog, walk a couple miles around the neighborhood or whatever, drive around in your neighborhood, go on a road trip. Nothing we do is life shattering, but we hope that we can be a companion to you and share some miles, share some smiles, and we can be a community. And I love what we have, speaking of community, is what we have in the clubhouse over at beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse and our Discord. It is truly the best social media in the world. It's just nice people taking care of each other. If you have a question about any kind of Disney trip, you'll have an answer. I mean, lickety split. You don't have to wait till Wednesday till we talk about it on the show. If you want to know, hey, I'm thinking about this, I have limited budget and I'm taking 3 teenagers to Walt Disney World. What are we thinking? That was a question I saw this weekend on the boards, and boom. I mean, immediately, like, we had some answers there that were just solid answers. I mean, and everybody's so supportive and because everybody's, we have so many people over there like, oh, been there. When my kids were teenagers and we had a limited budget, here's what we did and it worked out well, or we did this and it didn't work out great, but I wish I would have tried this. And then, other people jump in. Yes, we did that too. And this worked out. Come on over. It's free for everybody. We don't charge for the Discords. Communities where it's at. You know what? We're all in this together. So come on over and support and to be a part of that community. If there's one thing I want with our show is that we all get in this and make a community, that we're all family, that we all get to, from all parts of the world, we can share because we're so alike. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can, I've said this so many times of doing the show for almost 2 decades. If the world could see what we have, we're so much more alike than we are different. I just wish the world could get a piece of what we have, because the world, when you look at the news and you see the media, like, you would think everybody is so different because there's so much hatred out there and so many people are so mad at each other all the time. But it's not. I don't think it has to be that way, right? I mean, it's like, you just like each other, just find how the commonalities in people. Like, yeah, of course we're going to have different opinions on some things, but you know what? At the core, just be nice and care about each other. And I think that's what we have. And anyway, that's just me on a Sunday morning. And I'm just saying, I love you guys because we're good to each other. And it's so much easier to go through life liking each other and helping each other and smiling and welcoming each other. it's nice to get up on the good side of the bed. And it's good to go in the morning and be like, you know what? We're going to have a good time at the clubhouse today. Every day is a good day in the clubhouse rather than, we're going to yell at each other. And why? Why would you do that? Who knows? Anyway, hope you're having a great weekend. I am. But here's the thing. It's Memorial Day weekend. So again, I mentioned this on tomorrow's show that comes out on Memorial Day. Do pause to reflect on the folks who gave the ultimate sacrifice. We get them an awesome country. Our country's not perfect, but it is an awesome country. I mean, I'm living in a house that I love in the middle of the United States. Got to take my dog for a walk this morning in the rain, but I got to take the dog for a walk nonetheless. Have a job that I love, have a family that I love, I've done 2 jobs full time that I love. Got to be a teacher for a while. Got to work and travel. I mean, it's a pretty good gig. I don't have to be have to go into the army if I don't want to. I could have gone into the service if I wanted to. I have choice. So I can't complain. I love our country. I love our country. It's got its problems, but it's also an awesome country. So folks sacrificed so that we could have this country. So reflect on those folks who have given the ultimate sacrifice this weekend. But I'll tell you what, it doesn't feel like Memorial Day weekend here in Missouri this weekend. I don't know. Maybe it's it's the weather. Right now it's 64 and raining. Okay. So if it was 80 and sunny, I could get along with that, right? Because that would feel like, okay, summer's starting, right? But it also feels like, I don't know, maybe I feel to me, and I was talking to Pam about this last night, and we were on the phone with Paige up in Chicago. We were talking to her last night as we were having dinner, and because we were babysitting my nephew and we were eating some pizza at the kitchen table while we were talking to her, and we all 3 agreed that we think Memorial Day should almost be like next weekend for some reason. It seems like it's too soon. I don't know why. Like, I don't know why next weekend would be any different, but it just doesn't seem like Memorial Day weekend, like the kickoff to summer. But it is. But here in the Midwest, I mean, it is chilly. Like, I mean, I can't even wear shorts today. It's raining. It's like drizzly outside. It's gray. But it's probably not like this everywhere else. I'm sure a lot of places it's sunny, it's warm, it's great, but it's definitely not pool weather. We can't grill on our deck. It's raining. It's cool like that. So maybe next weekend it'll start to feel more like summer. So I don't even know if the Indy 500 is going to happen today because. And shout out to Fulton, who's tuned in on YouTube. It's his 26th birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday to him. Speaking of Indianapolis, I believe he's out there. Don't even know if they're going to run the Indy because they're probably having the same similar weather we are. So it feels weird. But, hey, happy summer. I mean, the calendar don't lie. So I hope you have a good summer, but we'll get there. So we're going to talk about the end of the school year because obviously, if you saw my social media this past 24 hours, it's been dominated by a huge thing in my life, which I am more proud of having Mallory born and Paige doing some cool stuff. And the one most important thing in my life is my family. I couldn't be more proud of them. And yesterday was a huge, huge, huge proud moment for me. We'll talk about that in a second. But it doesn't feel like summer here. I just want to say that. It's just like it doesn't yet. And I love summer. I mean, as a kid, I liked school as a kid, but I loved summer. I think one of the reasons I became a teacher is because I wanted a job where I was off in the summer. Honest to God. I mean, I'll admit it. Like, what job could you have where you're off in the summer? A teacher. So I became a teacher. Anyway, let's get to the feedback from last week's show because I want to make sure I have enough time for the main topic today because I am going to try to keep these shows a little bit shorter. Oh, also, I wanted to mention about last week. I sincerely apologize for the mess of Mike in the Midwest. If you get notifications when the show comes out, I know my good buddy Mark was up in Chicago. Like, dude, did you release the show 7 times last week? I did because Patreon, which obviously that's how you get the shows, they updated their UI, their user interface, and their back-end publishing system, added this little drop-down menu, which they didn't tell us about, which I couldn't find. It was like 3 pages deep, where you had to go to this drop-down menu now and select some crazy setting or your show wouldn't go live. Now, it looked like it was live. And if you went to the website at patreon.com/BRGuestPodcast, it was there and you could hit the play button and it played just normal. I mean, for the life of everything, it looked great, but it didn't go out on the RSS feed. So if you subscribe to the show, like on Apple Podcasts or whatever, to get it through your, like I do. So I just get it right through Pocket Casts. It never would show up. It never went out through the RSS feed, which is how I'm guessing most of you probably listen to Mike in the Midwest. It's a convenient way, right? You just catch it with everything else that you listen to. So, of course, within an hour, that was driving me absolutely bonkers because I'm bonkers with the show. If you guys don't know that, I can't miss a show. I'm a kind of a perfectionist with this stuff. So the entire 8 hours that this was going on, I'm troubleshooting it. I'm like, okay, well, and RSS is like this, the subscription like service that gets it to Apple Podcasts is like voodoo. There's nobody to email. So you just like, maybe it just didn't pick it up. So I'm like, I deleted the file. I deleted the summary. And so I just copy and paste it. I republished it. I'm like, maybe it just didn't catch the first time. So I'm like, maybe I'll just do it again. Maybe it'll catch a second time. Nope. Okay, maybe I did something wrong. So I'm like, I'm going to start from scratch. And so I did it a third time. Nope. And then finally, I just like, okay, I need new eyes. So I just walked away. And then finally, like the 7th or 8th time, I found this little drop down that was never there before, like on the 3rd page. What is that? And then I clicked it and you had to select something. You had to select the name of your show. I'm like, why do I have to select the name of my show? And I guess they added it for people that have multiple different podcasts, but one Patreon service that you're offering your listeners. I don't know what it was. So all I had to do was click on the name of my show, which was the default, and boom, it worked. Who knows? So anyway, about long story too long. I apologize if you got like 8 emails last Sunday, but hopefully it won't happen again today. Hopefully I figured it out. But if they didn't change it on me again since last Sunday. Anyway, feedback from last week's show. We talked about this time of the year. This time of the year is kind of crazy, right? Graduations, everything happening. So Trisha, who I'm going to be seeing in just over a month on the Disney Magic, and I've been watching vlogs about the Disney Magic. I cannot wait. Rapunzel's Restaurant, Animator's Palette. I've been looking at Cove Cafe, Lookout Key. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be so fun. Castaway Key. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to sell. This cruise is gonna be awesome. We just got our luggage stickers, which you don't need, but they're fun to get. Trisha says, our house is being re-roofed from last year's hail, and my husband videoed the storm as proof for insurance. He had a sense after seeing the ice golf ball land on our deck. Your mention of heading to the library in the summer mirrored mine. I remember the burnt orange colors of the carpet and comfy chairs. And libraries just have a smell. 100%. We're going to talk about something like that too in the main topic. That's so funny. I can't explain it, but it's a link to peace and quiet, something I don't get enough of as an adult. 100%. Libraries smell like, yeah, my library had a distinct smell. As soon as you walked in, you smelled it. And I think it was just like that old paper, like those old books. Because and I don't even know if the books were that old, but it seemed to me at my library that I grew up at the Bangert swimming pool library there, like the books just seemed like they were extremely old. Like maybe the ones I liked were extremely old, but you'd open them up and it'd just be like, man. And I love that smell. Even as a kid, I love the smell of those books. All right, Trish continues. I wish I had the same high school experience you shared, but moving before my freshman year of high school and unfortunately being an early victim of cyberbullying, I couldn't wait to head to college. I'm sorry to hear that. But I have to end on a positive note. I think the experiences I had make me appreciate the family moments with my own daughter that much more. It's really helped me to live in the moment, especially on family vacations. Well, that makes good sense. I'm glad you are, doing that with your family. I tried to just enjoy every moment of life, period. Because like I said, I loved high school, every moment of it. College was okay because I went to Missouri Baptist College for a little bit. I went to University of Missouri St. Louis for a little bit. But I never went away to school, which I wish I would have, but I couldn't really afford it too much. So you do what you do. And Dennis down in Texas says, I can't wait to hear about the adventures everyone gets up to sailing on the Magic as part of the BOGP cruise. I've sailed on the Magic twice, once out of Galveston and once out of Miami, and I thoroughly enjoyed the ship both times. I'm also glad to hear that you and your family were safe from the tornado and storms that went through St. Louis. Thank you, Dennis. As for this time of the year, there aren't any graduations in the family for us, but there is still an anticipation for the summer break. My oldest will return for the summer before his senior year of college, and my youngest will be college hunting before his senior year of high school. It is going to be an unusual. It's going to be unusual. I'm reminding myself to cherish the journey and not focus on how much things are about to change. Your discussion was a good reminder of that. Yeah, Dennis, we're going to talk about that here. So, and thank you for the feedback. If you have feedback on this show or any other show, anything that's even tangential, leave it because I love your feedback. It's patreon.com/Be Our Guest Podcast. All right. So, kind of taking last week's topic a step further. If you saw my social media this past 24 hours, you might have noticed that we had a celebration here and that my wife, Pam, retired from teaching yesterday, Friday. She had taught since 1997 in two different schools. She taught at Wedgwood Elementary, and then she taught at Combs Intermediate School. She taught sixth grade, and she taught fourth grade, and this past year, she moved up to fifth grade. So she had an outstanding career, 28 years of teaching, and she also taught as an adjunct college professor at the University of Missouri St. Louis for years and years in the evenings, and actually taught a lot of the elementary school teachers in the same district where she taught at Ferguson Florissant. Like many of the teachers, many of the colleagues that she taught with in her building in our district were students that she taught either introduction to how to teach mathematics and how to teach language arts were her students. So it's ironic that her colleagues were her students at the university level. So anyway, she has taught a lot of students. We figured out it was well over 1,000 students in her career because we departmentalized. Like, and you guys, I've talked about many times. We taught next door to each other when we taught sixth grade for 9 years. I taught in room 135. She taught in room 137. Next door neighbors. And when we departmentalized back then, I taught science. She taught math. And so back then, we had 4 sixth grade teachers. It was Ms. Bullington, Mr. Rallman, and then we had Miss Timmons and Mrs. Perrin. And so Mrs. Timmons taught social studies. Mrs. Perrin taught language arts. Anyway, we had 4 sixth grade classes, and so we would rotate the kids around, right? And so that's, and she did this every year for 20 years. So we calculated it was easily over 1,000 kids. And she's done this now for 28 years. So it was time to move on. 28 years of teaching, you do some calculations with how it's, you decide to, you got to figure with education, it's a weird system where when you get to the top, when you get to the end of your career, you no longer get raises. Especially in an economically challenged school district where budget cuts happen and stuff like that, and they have to get rid of they're no longer hiring. And so I don't want to get into all that, but it's, if you've ever been in a school district where it's economically challenged, there are reasons. So it was time, and we're celebrating Pam, and so she's going to be able to really be there for Mallory next year in her senior year of high school, because she's helping to do the booster club for the cheerleaders, which is a big job at a high school like the one Mallory goes to. Hopefully we can win a national championship this year in cheerleading. We're going to try to do that. And then she's, going to probably get another job, substitute teaching or something like that, because you can do that after you retire. You go back and substitute teach or whatever, but she's going to wait and see how that goes. Anyway, that's not the point of today's show. The point of today's show is twofold. One, we did something very cool, and this was totally Pam's idea. Well, first of all, let me say this. This is kind of what the title of the show is. The show says we all deserve a walk-off. And I want you to reflect on this because I always want to give you something to think about with Mike in the Midwest. Nothing like I'm not like smart or anything like that. But here's the thing. One of my favorite Cardinal of all time is Adam Wainwright. He was a pitcher that retired a couple of years ago. He calls baseball games now for Fox. Just a big old country boy from Georgia, but he always did it right. He never got kicked out of baseball games. He never cursed. He missed a couple of seasons because of arm trouble, but he always gave 100%. I mean, he always battled. He always gave, everything he had with what his God-given, abilities gave him. And he was always a great ambassador of the game. Good family man, it seemed like. Albert Pujols, another one of my heroes. Yadier Molina, another one of my heroes, the Cardinals. And so over the past like 3 or 4 years, Dennis is going to like this. Over the past, 3 or 4 years, it was time for them. They were all getting older, right? And like these guys, like in their heyday, like these guys carried the Cardinals through like their golden years. I mean, Albert was like Stan Musial to my dad, in my grandpa. Like Albert was just like Babe Ruth. Like he was so good. And Yadier Molina to me was like the best catcher I ever saw. And Adam Wainwright was like the best pitcher. And they were all on my team at the same time. They were like the three amigos, man. They were awesome. They were awesome. But you could just see them getting older and you knew the time was going to come. They had to go, uh, what do they say? Like, time's undefeated or, what do they, you just can't play forever. And it just happens. Like you got to go. You can't stick around forever. And so I just remember as that season wore on, that their last season, there was a game where they walked off together. They got taken out of the game together. So Adam Wainwright was pitching, Yadier Molina was catching, and Pujols was playing first, and they all got pulled out of the game for the last time together. So they all three walked off the field together. That was their walk off. And I mean, Busch Stadium came to their feet, and I mean, it was unbelievable, right? I mean, they had given their all for the Cardinals for the last decade plus. And it was the ultimate send-off. Like it was just like a storybook ending. It was like Field of Dreams. It was just unbelievable. Adam Wainwright right in the middle of his two buddies, Albert and Yachty. I mean, it's like chills, right? I mean, it's like I want to cry right now thinking about it. So like they're like my three. I mean, it's like almost like they're not real. It's almost like it's Hollywood, but it happened, and they got their walk off. When you think about sports is really good about giving athletes, their walk-offs. Think about and it's getting better and better nowadays, when it's time for an athlete to hang it up. A lot of times, even if they say this is their last season, when they go around the league, each town will give them an honor, maybe give them a plaque or some kind of a gift or something the last time they visit that, it's a big deal. So athletes really get their, their props. And I think that's great, because I'm definitely a sports guy. This has also come down to the student level. I think students now are getting props, right? I think one of the coolest things that I'm seeing students get to do now at graduations is I saw this new thing that they're doing over the past few years where, of course, high school kids and college kids all have their graduations, which is amazing. But I think one of the coolest things that they're doing now is something called a clap out. So students a lot of times are now going back to their elementary and middle schools, and they get to go down their halls one last time. And the kids in the elementary schools, the little guys, come out from their classrooms and like clap for the kids who used to go to that school one more time so they can go down their hall one more time. That's super cool, right? That's an honor. I love this idea of a clap out. That's a great idea. And I mean, the high school kids get to see your school one more time. They get to be honored by the little kids. It's cyclical, right? It's something you get to look forward to. Like when you're the little kid, I get to do that someday. I get to be the big kid. That's awesome. I like that idea. But here's the thing. So back to my wife retiring this past Friday, I was thinking about this, right? Teachers don't have anything like that for the most part. And teachers work hard. Teachers work hard, dude. They give everything. They give everything. Teachers, and I'm not saying this because I mean, I only know this because like, I mean, I was in the system, right? And I knew Pam was finishing up and she was just saying, nah, I'm going to, have a couple boxes and, I'll bring them home and, we'll go get some lunch or something because it was a half day. She was doing Friday was her last day and they were doing like a fifth grade promotion ceremony and it was over at 11:50. She was going to grab this last box she had left in her classroom and come home and meet me and we're going to go grab some lunch. It's like that doesn't sound right for 28 years of teaching, right? That's not right. And so I didn't tell her, but with an assist from Ben Lappin, the Magic for Less, he covered my guest that afternoon for me. I was like, you know what, that can't happen. So I said, this wasn't, I wish I could have got like 100 people I wish I could have got former students, former teachers, but of course she got out well before a lot of her colleagues were still teaching because her district got out a little bit earlier. But logistically, I couldn't get anybody else, but I'm like, I am going to her classroom. I'm not telling her. So I got a bouquet of flowers. Instead of getting a card, what I got her was the book she knew this because obviously we taught next door to each other. My tradition with my students every year on the last day of school, I always read, "Oh, the Places You'll Go" by Dr. Seuss. That was my tradition in my classroom. So Friday morning, I hustled up to Target, got a special collector's edition of "Oh, the Places You'll Go," put a little inscription in it, got my flowers at the grocery store florist, which were awesome because it had to be daisies. That's her favorite flower. And boom, showed up at her classroom right at almost dismissal time. Got to hang out with her students, the stragglers that didn't go home early, and surprised her. And it was awesome because she got to have a little recognition right before the end of her career. But every teacher should have that. Every teacher should have that. And it shouldn't just be teachers. Accountants should have that. Police officers should have that. Paramedics should have that. Doctors should have that. It doesn't matter what you are. Everybody who has done a job well for any length of time should have their clap out, should have their walk off, because it's just the right thing to do. It should leave that warm, fuzzy feeling in your heart. I just think if you've worked really hard at a job, and I think for the most part, everybody, even if you have a job that you don't 100% buy into, that you don't love, that you're like, oh my gosh, I like live for this. But you go in and you give an honest day's work. When you leave that after a length of time, I think you should get some kind of a clap off or a walk off or a send off, And the saddest thing would be just somebody carrying a box to their car. I just think it shouldn't happen. But anyway, we did that. So she was excited about that. But she had one idea, and I love this idea. Since we met together, she said, we're doing one last thing. And I said, what's that? We're going back to where this all started. So we drove across town back to our elementary school where we met as teachers, back to Wedgwood. And because she knew the secretary there. And so we got to go back to where our old classrooms were, because she taught at a different school at this point where she quit, where she retired. And so we went in that school. I have not been in that school. And because I ended up, when I left, I was teaching at the Gifted Center. So I have not been in that school for probably 15 years. So we went into the office where we had been in that office a million times. I mean, it's where your mailbox was, it's where the principal's office was. I always used to make all kinds of announcements to the whole school because I was Mr. Microphone. I mean, just like the smell. As soon as we were in there, like the front lobby, we used to do a food drive every, every Thanksgiving. And we'd like bring in 5,000 canned goods every year, at least. Get the carts across the street from Shop and Save, the grocery store. and like it was almost like we saw the ghosts of the kids, and like we talk, and we walk down the halls, and we every classroom we passed, we're like, oh, remember Mrs. Timmons? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, and like we shared stories every time we passed the classroom. I'm like, I went in there and said, I'm gonna ask Pam out on her 30th birthday. I had that class. I sat on a desk right there. You don't know this, but that's where I sat. I sat on that desk and said, I'm gonna. Should I? I said I had the conversation with Jen because she was the one of the other sixth grade teachers, and I trusted her with my life. She was just like the older, wise teacher that was just so gentle and kind next door on the other side of me. Pam taught on the other side, and Jane was on the other side, the social studies teacher. And I said, Jane, what do you think? Am I stupid to ask Pam out on her birthday to take her to dinner? And she goes, Mike, if you think you should, you should. I said, we teach together. Should I? She goes, if you think you should, you should. I said, I think I'm going to. I'm crazy. She'll say no. She said, I don't think she'll say no, but if you think you should, you should. I was scared to death, but here we are. But yeah, we passed everybody's classrooms. And we talked about all the good times. That teacher, we had a story about that teacher, that teacher. We went back and it was, and we walked down the hall. We're like, God, it smells like O week. It smells like, 2001, there's a computer lab. We remember when the old, first iMacs were in there, the Skittle colors, all the different colors of iMacs. And we talked about, there's the, Miss the art teacher and the projects they did there. And it was the greatest. But I just think every person who's done a job well done deserves that walk off, that bouquet of flowers, that card, that special card, and that real quick trip down memory lane. I hope everybody gets that somehow. So if you could do that for somebody, just hit them up. Doesn't have to be a huge thing. Just that attaboy. That I just think everybody deserves that. It made me so happy. So anyway, I don't even know where I was going with this, but I just hope we can always share that, with a colleague, with a relative, with somebody in our life, because I think we all deserve that. Anyway, good to jump out of here. Hope you have a great Memorial Day. Hope you're having better weather than we are here in the Midwest. Live call-in show tonight. Scotty G is going to be on with me, and let's talk some Disney. But hope you're having a great start to the summer, and let's keep it rolling right on. Love you guys. Hope you're having a fun Sunday. So until next time, you guys stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.